Hi guys, Ann here, and today we're going to do a little story time / update on my daughter Lexi. So almost 2 years ago she had open heart and lung surgery, and on my last video I did a life update of my health and what's going on with my heart, and a few of you guys asked me in the comments and also like DM'd me or emailed me, is what my daughter, what she went through, the same thing what I'm going through. So I figured, you know what, let me go ahead and make a video so I can explain exactly what's going on, and also I haven't done a life update on her in a while. So if you want to hear what happened to me in 2019, that I think I had a mental breakdown, but if not, I was daggone close to it. So if you want to hear what happened in 2019 and also give an update to how Lexi's doing, then keep on watching. All right, so a few days ago, let me see what today's date is. I could tell you exactly. Today is the 29th. So on the 27th, because I remember making a video on the 27th, and it was like, I remember hitting the stop button at 38 minutes. So yesterday, I wanted to edit it and get it up for you guys yesterday, since I haven't really been uploading on this channel too much, right? And I go to put it in, so the video went into the editing thing, but for some reason, the camera stopped working at 31 minutes. So that left like 7 minutes of like right in the middle as I was talking, it just cut off. Every 2 days they had to change it. Oh my God, it was just terrible. The pain that she had, I can't even explain. So I don't know, maybe it was meant to be because I got very emotional in that video. I don't know, but maybe it's like, you know, something telling me like redo your video. So that's what we're doing. Now, it is funny. When I talk about my daughter, the incident that had happened was September 30th. So it is almost 2 years to the day, and I will most likely put this up tomorrow, which will be the 30th for you guys. So when you're watching it, it actually was 2 years to the day. I cannot believe it's been almost 2 years. All right, so let's start with this. So my last video, I did a life update. Well, before I begin, let me just tell you guys, if you don't know, I do have a main channel called Just Ann. And I had that for about 4.5 years. And over there, it's more beauty related, right? So I do like subscription unboxings, mystery boxes, you know, stuff like that. And I thought, you know what? I wanted to get a little bit more personal. And I do have a lot of health issues. Just in case you're new to this channel, I've been diabetic since the age of 18. I didn't take care of myself, and because of that I have a lot of heart issues and just issues in general that I'm trying to give awareness about diabetes, right? So I want to start this channel also because I had an addiction problem years ago. You know, I had also like a makeup addiction. I had a lot of things happen to me that I think, and mental illness I think needs to be talked about more, that you guys can relate, you know, and I think on that channel, it's not the channel to like, you know, I think this channel is better, like having a separate channel. So I was taking you guys along to the doctors with me when I had to get any tests done. Then I would take you guys back to the doctors to get like, you know, the results. You would hear the doctor talking. And then, like I said, my last video was like the life update where I explained everything in detail. And I had let you guys know, like I'll leave the video down below. And I let you guys know that I have coronary heart disease. I'm in only stage 1 heart failure. I have angina. I have like just different things wrong with me. And some of you guys been with me for a while on my main channel, and you knew back in 2019, my daughter had 10 centimeters of blood clots taken out of her heart and lungs. And so you guys were asking me, like I said, then I was getting private messages, ask me like, you know, is what Lexi, is it the same thing? And so no, it's totally different what she went through and what I'm going through. I'm dealing with because of diabetes, and I didn't take care of myself. Easy, like just bluntly, I did not take care of myself. For many, many years, I did not take my insulin. I did not take my medication. I ate whatever I wanted to eat. I just didn't care about myself. I had an alcohol problem for years, you know. I mean, it's been a while. It's been 17 years clean now, but you know what I mean? So I did a lot of destruction to my body, and because of that is why I'm dealing with what I'm dealing with now. With my daughter, it was totally different. I also want to talk about, like, 2019, I really thought I had like a mental breakdown, and sometimes I get a lot of emails asking me, like, you know, because I never really went into detail. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I know it's like I'm 5 minutes in and I still haven't talked about nothing, because this makes me nervous. Like when I remember like what happened with my child, also what else happened with me in 2019. It just gives me like anxiety. I don't know how to explain it. You know what I mean? So let me just cut to the chase. So let me start with 2018. So in 2018, September 5th, I remember the dates. My mother and grandmother, they lived together, okay? My mom was on hospice. My grandmother was on hospice. And my oldest son at the time, he was 23, he lived with them. That way there was somebody there 24 hours a day, because where I lived, I was married. I did have a minor son, you know, and just different things. I couldn't be there 24/7. So I would be there all day long, and then I would go back home, cook dinner for my family, and then I knew my son was there, and then if he needed a break or wanted to go out, you know, we would just take turns, stuff like that, you know, but I needed somebody there 24/7. Well, I remember this because September 6th, school was getting ready to start. This was the same year that both of my daughters, so I have a stepdaughter and my daughter, started college, okay? And then my son was going into 9th grade. He was becoming a high schooler. And my husband works for the school system. So that's why I can remember this. You know, we were getting ready. My son was picking out what he was going to wear for the first day of school. We were getting my husband ready. And I get a phone call from my son. My oldest son, the one that's staying with my mom and grandma. And when he calls me, the only thing he was like, Mom, there's a fire in my room. And, you know, the first thing, because it's a shock, it's like, what do you mean there's a fire in your room? He was like, there's a fire, there's a fire. And I was like, did you call 911? He's like, yeah, but you need to come. So, like, I hang up that phone so quick, and, like, I don't even remember putting shoes on. I think I just put, like, slides on, you know, like, where you just, you know. And, like, me and my husband, like, we went over there. I got there within like 2 minutes. As I'm pulling up, I see all the ambulances. I see the fire trucks, and I'm like, oh my God, this is bigger than what I thought, you know? I'm like, I see my grandmom outside. Now, my grandmom at that time, she was like 91. And I see the dog outside. They had a dog, Bella. I see my son. And I'm like, where's my mom? I see my mom in the ambulance. I'm like, oh my God. She had no shoes on, nothing, you know. Now, in September, it was still pretty hot. So I had the car on, had the air conditioner running. I had my grandmom in the car, and the dog and stuff. And I'm like, what is going on? This was about 5 in the afternoon. So, make a long story short, there was an electrical fire that started in my son's room. What happened was, my son always liked having a mattress on the floor. I don't care if I had $20,000 in the bank. He did not want a bedroom set, like a mattress, like a headboard and all that. He just liked to have the box spring, the mattress on the floor. Always been like that. So he had that pushed up against the wall. What happened was, the outlet where my son's bed was pushed up, the outlet that was right there on the wall started heating up. It was electrical fire. And what happened was, caused the fire, and then the fire got on the bed, the sheets, and then just started the house. Now, my son had went out to his friend's house for about 20 minutes, and then he was on his way back home. I think he was dropping something off or picking something up. I don't know what it was. And thank God he was only gone for like 20 minutes. When my son got in, he heard the smoke alarms. My mom and grandma, like my grandma didn't even, I mean, it was just a mess. Long story short, thank God he was only gone for 20 minutes. And thank God this fire was between 4 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Had it been 4 or 5 in the morning and my son was sleeping in that bed, that would have been a whole different story. So the house didn't burn to the ground, but from the heat did a lot of damage, like a lot. Then they also had to turn off, the city turned off the water, the electric, everything like that. So when the fire trucks came with the water, I mean, it was so much water upstairs that the ceiling was coming down and the water was going downstairs. And because it was still very hot in the 90s that year, everything got mold. There was mold on the wall. Everything was just destroyed. Do you know what I mean? They redid the whole house. They brought it down to like the wood, the frame, except for the kitchen, the dining room, the attic, and the roof. Go figure, the attic and the roof, right? It was just, it's a shame. Anyway, having said that, the reason why I'm telling you that is because to get into that. So they stayed with me for a few months, but they wanted their own place. You know, they thought they were a bother to me, which they were not, but they just wanted their own place. My son said, you know, I'll stay with them. So we got them a rental house, which the insurance paid for. My grandmother was so excited because she lived in that house for over 40 years, right? To see what it would be like new, okay? Because I had that house was built in 1901, so it had the original wires in it, everything. And she was just excited to see it. Well, unfortunately, she passed away in 2019 in February. So she didn't get a chance to see the house. So because I knew my mom was on hospice and she was going downhill, that made my anxiety was like, you got to get this house finished. And what happened was in 2019 was when all the wildfires in California, it was like towards the end of 2018, like November, December, and then in January, I don't know, somewhere around there. I can't remember exactly what months, but I remember in 2019, they had to go to California. So then the house just sat for a while. So now we're moving up to September 30th. Okay, so my grandmother, so 2018, September, house fire. February 2019, a few months later, my grandma passes away. That September 2019, my daughter was working, and she works at Walmart. Now, I can tell you this now because she no longer works there. And she worked in the lawn and gardens department. So, of course, it's hot and everything there, right? So she calls me, and she calls me Mommy. And she goes, Mommy, I'm not feeling well. And I was like, well, what's wrong? She goes, I don't know. I'm just sitting on the floor. She goes, I felt like I was going to pass out. And I go, all right, well, just sit there. Call me back in about 15 or 20 minutes. She calls me back, and she goes, well, they called 911. They called the ambulance. And I'm like, why? You know, because when she called me back, if she wasn't feeling well, I was just going to go pick her up and bring her back home and have her lay down. I thought maybe the heat. I also thought as a mother, is she pregnant? You know, maybe she's just not feeling well, you know, stuff like that. And I was like, all right, well, I'll meet you over there. So my husband was just getting out of work, and he was like, I'll go over there, you know, because I was frying steak or doing something, cooking dinner or something. He was like, just go to finish dinner. I'll be with Lexi, and then come over there when you're done. So, of course, like, we're texting back and forth. You know, everything was fine. They were just in the middle of doing tests for her, you know, when you get there, you know. So I get there maybe about 30, 40 minutes after she was at the hospital. Soon as I walked into that room, when I see her, I'll never forget the look. I'll never, ever, ever forget. Her lips were like purple. Now, my daughter has very pretty, like, pinkish color lips, and they were like a dark purple. And she says, Mommy, I'm so cold, and you literally see goosebumps on her. She had already had a blanket on her, and they were doing her blood pressure, and I seen her blood pressure going up and down. Up, and I'm talking about drastically, like 180 over something to down to like 90 over something, back up to like 160. Her pulse was going up and down, and she's only 19 and in good health. I'm just keeping an eye on this monitor. It's going up and down, up and down. Oh, baby. It's okay. Mommy's here. Mommy's here, okay? Mommy's here. Oh, Jesus, God, it's going 1:35. All right, I'm going to get the nurse. You know what I'm saying? So I kept saying, there's something wrong, there's something wrong. You just know, you have that feeling as a mother. So I say to the girls that were the nurses and stuff, and I'm like, well, what's going on? And so because my daughter was over 18, you know, my daughter had to give permission if she can tell me things, you know, and that kind of upset me. I know they were doing their job, but when you're a mother, you're like, what's going on? You tell me. She's only 19. She's still a teenager. You know what I mean? And they said, well, they did the EKG. You know, they do everything that's like emergency, like it's nothing fatal at that time, and everything came back fine. Well, we were in the middle of changing her from a from a pediatrician to like an adult doctor for her primary care, you know, because her doctor you can see till you're like 21, but she was 19 and I was already going to change her doctor to like my doctor, but I just didn't do it yet, you know. I keep saying to them, there's something wrong. And they're like, well, we don't see anything. We're going to keep her here, keep an eye on her. And if we can't find anything, we're going to send her home. I'm like, you cannot send her home. There's something wrong. Look at her lips. Well, they don't know what she looked like before, you know, but you could definitely tell her lips were like dark purple. They were purple. You know, I'm like, there's something wrong. She was saying how cold she was. I'm like, don't you see her blood pressure? This is not normal for a 19-year-old. So they try to get a hold of her pediatrician, and because she wasn't, something they told me, like she wasn't an adult doctor, they couldn't keep her until the pediatrician said, yeah, I don't know. It was just something weird. I still don't understand that. Well, thank God they were getting ready to change shifts because they were getting ready to discharge her. And another nurse came in. He was a male nurse, and he comes in, and I say, there's something wrong with her. Please check, do something. And he goes, well, let me keep an eye on her for about another 20, 30 minutes. Meanwhile, she's getting more and more blankets. You know, she already has like 6 blankets on her. She's still having goosebumps. It's going up and down. She's saying, Mommy, my chest hurts. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. And I'm like, now I'm freaking out. Like, I'm running there. Like, there's something wrong. One thing about my child, my daughter never complains. Me? I'm a drama queen, okay? When I'm on my menstrual, you're going to hear about it all day long, right? My daughter never complains. So she's the type of person, it's like one of those people that never complain. So when they do complain, you take it serious, right? So he says, all right, you know, I'm going to run a test on her. I don't like the way her blood pressure is going and stuff. And he was like, and I forget exactly what it's called. It's a blood test to tell if you have blood clots or not. He said it'll either come back positive or negative. And I was like, well, go ahead and do that. And I'm thinking, why is he doing that? Blood clots. You know, that's the least of my... I didn't think that. So they says, well, the test will come back probably about 30, 40 minutes. You know, the lab and all that. You know, because at the hospital, you know that they're slow. Not even like 15, 20 minutes. He comes back. He goes, well, it came back positive. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he was like, so it's coming back because she does have a blood clot. So now we're going to do a CAT scan with IV. They take her like right away, okay? Comes back and he goes, well, we're going to have the doctor look and it might take about a half hour, you know. Within 10 minutes, they come back. And I seen the look on his face. I'm like, what? And, you know, he goes, well, she has a blood clot. Well, it's called a pulmonary embolism. I say blood clot because it's just easier for me to say. But the medical term is pulmonary embolism. In her main artery, you know, in her lung. Okay, so it was like right here. And he said, it's pretty big. He said, I've never seen one that big on only a 19-year-old. He goes, are you sure she wasn't coughing up blood? I'm like, no. And me and my daughter, Lexi, I'm like, where? She was like, no. Like, she was like, there had to be symptoms because she had that for a while and it was just so big. He was like, I can't imagine her not having symptoms. And I'm like, I'm telling you, she's been working at Lawn and Gardens and at Walmart. Like, she had no symptoms. So anyway, he goes, well, we have to transfer her to a level 1 hospital. And he said, and that hospital has their own transportation. Now, they couldn't fly her because of the blood clots. And they said, so we have to wait on them. So like they couldn't just like have their own ambulance and take right away. We had to wait until that hospital came and picked up my daughter. So now we're going about 2, 3 o'clock. That hospital finally picks up my daughter. And I didn't even stop home to get like a change of clothes, toothbrush, nothing. Like, do you know what I mean? Like we just followed the ambulance. They wouldn't let me ride in there, you know. So we get there, like, it was between 3 and 4 in the morning because it was about a 45-minute drive. Now, at that hospital, they take her right to ICU. Now, at that hospital, you're not allowed to stay the night in ICU. It's like certain visiting hours. At the hospital where we live at, in ICU, you can be there 24 hours a day. But I begged them. I was like, well, let me just see her before, you know, because they allowed us to sleep in the waiting room, you know, because they knew we came so far and stuff like that. I was like, just let me say, you know, that I'm here so she knows. So they allowed me in there for about 30 minutes, and then we had to leave. Now, they did tell me that visiting hours starts at 10, so I wouldn't be able to see her at 10 in the morning. So I was like, all right. So me and my husband, we were sound asleep about between 8 and 8:30. the nurse comes and she was like, well, your daughter wants me to come get you. She wants to speak to you. And I was like, oh, is it 10 o'clock already? And she's like, no. And I look at my cell phone and it was like 8:30, somewhere around there. So I was like, oh, this is kind of weird. And I could see in her face, okay, the nurse's face, like something's going on. Now, mind you, my daughter's over the age of 18. So technically, you know, they go through my daughter, right? I go in the room. I'm trying not to get emotional because it's bringing back memories. I can remember everything to a T. My daughter's just sitting up, texting. She doesn't really know what's going on. You have the doctor there. You have the ultrasound lady there. You have the nurse there. And they're all looking in the monitor. And I hear the ultrasound lady say, yeah, her right ventricle. That's all I hear. Because everything else goes like the Charlie Brown, remember the cartoon? Wah, 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 because I know something's wrong. So I'm like, well, what's going on? And I hear Lexi say, you could tell my mom anything, you know. So they look at me and says, well, you know, she does have that pulmonary embolism in her lung, so right here. And he goes, and she says, and there's 2 more in her heart that are moving. And so what's happening is the blood, they were scared that the 2 blood clots were going to go on top of that main one and her heart's going to stop. She was in heart failure. Her heart was beating so fast. That's why her blood pressure was going up and down. Her pulse, why she was so cold, you know. Oh, I'm so pissed every time I think about this with that one hospital. Because I would have, if they would have sent her home, I would have put my daughter to sleep. You know, I would have just thought, okay, and she may not have woke up. I don't even want to think about it, you know? When they look at a 19-year-old and they don't take anything serious. Okay, I'm getting off this topic. So the doctor goes, well, she needs to get, but let me back this up. I'm getting ahead of myself because it's so much. It's so emotional that I forget certain parts. In the one hospital originally that she was in, they told me they're going to put her in the main hospital, the level 1 hospital, because they usually do a few things. 1, they just handle it with IV to break up the blood clot. 2, they put like a stent or something in and it kind of like hits the blood clot to break it up. Or worst case scenario, they do surgery. So I am not thinking anything else. I'm thinking, oh, well, they'll probably just give her medicine or anything like that, right? So now when I go there and they say about the other 2 blood clots, they say, we got to operate on her right now. And he says, you know, this is really serious. And he goes, we don't have time to prep her. We'll prep her in the OR. So I'm still not thinking. And when my daughter realizes she has to get surgery, she starts crying. And she goes, Mommy, I'm so scared. And I remember going over to her and I said, you believe in God, right? And she says, yes. I said, you keep your faith. So that was one of the last things my grandmother told me when she was able to talk. She says, always keep your faith. Now, mind you, now I'm thinking with my mom. I knew my mom was getting ready to go. My mom is really in bad shape. Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, I can't lose. Like, oh my God, it was terrible. So they allowed me to walk with my daughter to the elevator. And then that was that. And I remember giving her a kiss, and I'm like, you're going to be all right. You know, I'm trying to be strong. I didn't cry in front of her. I'm like, it's all right. I'm right here. I'll be right here when you wake up. You know, they do this all the time. You know, I'm saying to her. Still not really realizing, like, she's going for heart surgery. So I walk back, and I go past the nurse's station because I was going back into her room. And the nurse says, how are you feeling, Mom? And I go, I'm all right. And she goes, you know, we never had somebody this young with those blood clots like that. And she was like, you know, and she was like, you know, I never had anybody like having open heart surgery that young for blood clots. And I go, open heart surgery? Now, I know this is going to sound so stupid, but because of my nerve, it did not comprehend that she was having open heart surgery. I know it sounds so stupid. I know they said she was going to the OR. I knew I was walking her there, but it didn't compute open heart surgery. I don't know why, but it didn't. I look at my husband and he goes, Ann, do you know what's going on? And I go, no. And he goes, they're doing open heart and lung surgery. And the nurse says, you know, it's a 50-50 chance. They're pretty, you know, whatever the case may be. I remember, now I am like a germaphobe. This is why I don't paint my nails, because I deal with bleach all the time. And I remember going into the bathroom floor with all those germs and falling down on the ground and praying like I'd never prayed before. My grandma had just passed. I prayed to my grandmother. My father had died when I was 6. I'm praying to my dad. I'm praying to God. I'm like, send all the angels, you know. I'm begging and pleading. Something in my ear says, go live and get more prayers. The more prayers you get, the better, right? So that's what I did. We go down to the waiting room and I go on live. Hello, let me know if you guys can see me. I'm not sure if I can see the chat, but let me know. Excuse my appearance. I've been at the hospital all night. I'm not going to stay on long, but I want to let you guys know that my daughter is in open heart surgery right now. So I just need prayers. She has a blood clot on her lung, on the pulmonary, her main artery, and then when they did the other test today, they found out that she has another one on her heart, and then a smaller one, and they were trying to move to go on top of the one on her lung. And so if she wasn't at the hospital, she would have had heart failure. So they had to bring her to another bigger hospital. I've been here all night, but I just wanted to keep you guys posted and just ask for prayers. The surgery is going to be about 3 hours. She's in surgery now. Once they found out the other blood clots, she was in surgery within 5 minutes. I just was able to hug her and give her a kiss. So I asked everybody for their prayers, you know. And this is getting off topic, but I remember people were like, you don't seem so upset. You know, when it's a shock to you, you don't know how you're going to react. And I had to be I had to be a mama lion. I couldn't break down until I knew my daughter came out of that operating room. You know what I mean? Alive and well, in stable condition. I could not break down, you know? And plus, I was still in shock. So the operation was supposed to be about 3 hours. It was going on 3.5 hours, and I'm getting more nervous. Finally, about close to 4 hours, I see the doctor come out, and he calls us, and we go over, and he has his phone with a picture, and he's showing me all the blood clots that were taken out. And he goes, well, we took out 10 centimeters of blood clots between the lung and the heart. And he was like, you're very, very lucky, because she would not have survived much longer. And he kept asking, and there was no symptoms. He was like, she should have been coughing up blood, couldn't breathe. I'm like, no, you know, until the day that it happened, you know. And she still never coughed up blood. So anyway, getting off of that, so when they do surgery, they put in like a little camera through your groin into that artery, you know, and they have a camera go up so they can see exactly what's going on. So of course they had to stitch that up and staple that and everything. So she was in the hospital about 1.5 weeks, 2 weeks, and we bring her home. And I noticed, like, you know, I'm helping her go to the bathroom. The bathroom was right next to her room, and I remember she's like, Mommy, I think one of my stitches came open, because she felt like the oozing. And I look, and it did. It was like 2 stitches start coming open. We call, and so she was supposed to have like a nurse that comes in like a few times a week to keep an eye on her scar and different things. But something had happened, like, I don't know, it was like over the weekend, they couldn't get the nurse. I don't know what could be. So we had to take her back to the emergency room, to that one hospital. My husband took her. I was like, I just can't go. I can't deal with this, right? Then I had to like check on my mom, you know? So they come back and they were like, all right, just, you know, it'll just heal on its own. Keep doing everything sanitary and everything that we're doing. The nurse should be there the next day. Well, that night was like a smell like you would never imagine. Like, it was bad. And then she started to have green and yellow stuff oozing out. I'm like, that's infection. I take her back to the hospital. They put IVs in, all this kind of stuff. There's really nothing they could do, you know what I mean, and clean it up. And then they send her home again. The nurse comes, and now each day, like each time, like the stitches are coming more and more. I get a hold of the doctor. It was like 4 in the morning. I'm like, something's wrong. Like the stitches keep popping open. She goes, okay, meet me at the hospital. Meet me at my office at 8 in the morning. So that's what we did. And she goes, you know, we got to send her right in the hospital. We're going to admit her. She had, when they did the blood test, she had a blood infection. From this that started, I don't know, started the infection down there, and that could have stopped her heart. So they had to open it all up. I mean, you could literally see, oh God, the muscle tissue. Oh God, I don't even think about it. And what they did is they put, they had to operate on her again and put this machine in that's like a little sponge right there, like suck it. I don't know. I don't even want to think about that. Oh God, I have such a weak stomach. The pain. Oh, I just can't imagine. So she was in the hospital another week for that, come home. And by this time we have everything straightened out. The insurance, the nurse comes every other day to switch oh. My heart, it's like it's happening all over again, you know, just seeing my daughter's face with the pain. Anyway, long story short, you know, that heals. She's good, you know. Now, so this is all through October. I wanted to get my mom in by the end of October. They were almost done because this time I knew my mom was going downhill. She had stopped breathing I don't know how many times. I remember her calling for me, but I had to be with my daughter. I mean, it's like you pick between, oh my God. Worst feeling in the world, okay? They were able to finish the house. She moves in the end of October. So now we're in November. Thanksgiving's coming. Well, you know, because of the house fire, there was no furniture. We had to get her furniture. You know, they didn't have all the pots and pans. So that night, Thanksgiving before, I said, you know what? I'll cook Thanksgiving dinner at my house, and I'll bring everything over. My mother passes away about 9 o'clock in the morning, Thanksgiving morning in 2019. Okay, I apologize. I say a lot. 2019 was the hardest year of my life, but the best year. The reason why I say it's the hardest, you know, I lost my mother and my grandmother. My grandmother raised me. She was my second mother. But I could have lost my daughter. You know, they say it comes in threes. And my daughter is still here. I've moved into this house. I waited a whole year. Nobody was in here for a year because I just couldn't. This was also my childhood home, so it was bittersweet, right? For so many months, every time I came down the steps, I just visualized my mom on the recliner. Dead. I hate to be so blunt, but that's the truth. Thanksgiving is one of the hardest days of my life. But having said all that, my daughter has got tests to see why the blood clots. They did the factor 4, factor 5, all this. Everything's coming back negative. So what the doctor put down, the only thing he can think of was from birth control. Pills, orally. He said taking birth control pills orally is the highest risk. Now, my daughter didn't smoke because they say when you smoke and take birth control pills, it can cause blood clots. So I don't know what happened. And she was on birth control pills for about 1.5 years. So that blood clot, I don't know how long it was there. You know what I mean? I never knew birth control pills can cause blood clots. Never knew that. The doctor never told me the risk. When we'd pick up the medicine, there was never no paper. And I always felt bad because when my daughter was going to college, I made my daughter get on birth control pills, and she didn't want to, but I made her because I didn't want to be a grandmom, and I wanted to be safe than sorry. I was a teen mom. I was 18 when I got pregnant, right? So I feel guilty for that. So, short term, my daughter, it was just something that had happened. Her birth control, she's not on birth control now, but they told me she would have to take the kind without the estrogen in, without the hormones, you know. Be careful if you're on birth control pills orally. Keep getting checked for blood clots. I'm telling you. So what I've learned from all this. Now, I'm filming this after I found out about the YouTuber Mel Thompson, who just passed away at the age of 35. We don't know yet what she passed from. But life is so short, guys. Who would have known? I would have woke up, I kissed my daughter goodbye when she went to work. Who would have known a couple hours later she would have been in the emergency room? Who would have known 24 hours later she would have had open heart and lung surgery? Who would have known? I could have lost my daughter. Just like the house fire. I'm getting my kids and my husband ready for work the next day. House fire. I say all the time. And I also want to say this too. Because of everything I was going through, that I really thought I was having a mental breakdown. I really did. Like, I couldn't take much more after my mom passed. Me and my husband separated. I was just mean. And then, so the 1 year anniversary of my mom on Thanksgiving, I didn't spend it with my husband, right? I couldn't even be down the steps because it was terrible. I really did think I had a mental breakdown. I really did. You guys have told me over and over again on my main channel, like, you seem so negative. Looking for the trash can. You know? But like I said, I learned life is so short. Do not go to bed angry, guys. If you get mad at a friend or whatever, talk about it. Communicate with your spouse, your children. You know what I mean? I hear these parents disowning their kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, tell your loved ones. I always tell my family, give me my flowers while I'm alive. In other words, show me you love me now. Do not wait until I'm gone and then want to act like you're so sad and stuff, right? Be nice. Tell your loved ones every day how much you love them. Don't go a few days without talking to people that you care about. Check up on them. You know? There's nothing more important. You can take 5 seconds to make a phone call, to check on somebody. Kindness. When you're walking down the street, you don't know what that other person, what they're going through. Just say hi. You know what I'm saying? That showed me how quick people can go. And I held some animosity towards my mother for things I'm not going to get into. And I regret never talking to her about it. Because once you're gone, you can't talk about it, right? So don't stop holding things inside. Talk about it. You know what I mean? And I mean that. If you're in a relationship that you're not happy with, get out of it. Life is so short, right? Be happy. If you're in your 40s and you want to go back to school, go back to school. Don't let anything stop you. Do what makes you happy. Love and be happy. Right? Funny story. When my daughter has tattoos right here. And the first thing she said was, "Did they hit my tattoo?" And I remember the doctor was telling me I tried everything we can not to hit that tattoo, and they didn't. And here's my baby girl.
I'm alive.
Yeah. She said she's alive to still give me a hard time.
Yeah.
Look at my baby scar.
I know, it's huge.
It goes all the way down.
They missed my tattoo though, so.
Do you know what's funny? Right after surgery, if you don't know, my daughter had heart and lung surgery for blood clots. She also has some blood clots down your right arm, right? And
you can still see my bruises, guys.
Oh yeah, that's from that's from the blood thinners. Well, as soon as she gets the breathing tube and everything out, she goes, "Did they get my tattoo?"
I had to worry about that. I paid good money for these. I can't.
It's so funny. She's worried about her tattoos. But yeah. Alright guys, that's everything. Let me know any stories. Did you have the same incident? Do you know about the birth control pills and what could happen? Do you know anybody that had blood clots because of that? Let me know down below. And yeah, that's everything guys. All right, please like this video. I know it's a little sad video, but like the video, you know, it really does help me out. And yeah, guys, like I always say, stay beautiful, stay blessed, stay healthy, and most importantly, always stay you. And I will see you in my next video. Bye. God, every time I think about it, it makes me so upset. Jesus. I need a cookie now. I need a cookie.